Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're talking Star Wars Shatterpoint and Ministravaganza. We're going to recap all of the big announcements that came out of Ministravaganza, as there were quite a lot of new spoilers, a lot of teasers for things that we knew were coming, some teasers for things we didn't know were coming, and some very far off teasers as well. So it's going to be very exciting. If you kind of didn't get a chance to sit down and watch all of the streams and you want to get all of the highlights in a very compressed format, this is the place to be. We're going to do all of that. But before I jump into it, a little bit of admin stuff. First off, I'd love for you guys to subscribe, click the buttons down there, like the video, share the video, all that good stuff. Links in the description below. You can also join our Discord. We are giving away a $100 Amazon gift card, which you can put towards a Shatterpoint expansion or two of your choice. All you have to do to enter to win that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. That runs through Halloween, so you have plenty of time left to enter to win that. There's a bigger giveaway, so we're giving it a little bit more time for everybody to get a chance to enter. Also, in the Discord, we did some giveaways during the Ministravaganza. The ones in Discord are still live in the giveaways channel, so you can check those out if you're interested as well. And also want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. Guys, head over to luxuryplaystyle.com and check out some of these awesome tokens they have. They are full metal, double-sided tokens. I'm showing you here some of the tokens compatible with Star Wars Legion, but they also have tokens compatible with X-Wing. They also have great damage tokens that would work really well for Shatterpoint, as well as lots of tokens for other games like Magic the Gathering, Arkham, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So definitely check out Luxury Playstyle, and while you're there, use code Crabbok VIP to save yourself 15%. So head over there and check them out. They're fantastic. All right. I think that's all of the admin stuff. Let's jump right into our first spoiler. We got a look at the Plo Koon set. Now, this is going to be called the Lead by Example Squad Pack. This is going to have Plo Koon, Wolf, the Wolf Pack, and Padawan Ahsoka for those of you who didn't get her early. We got to look at Plo Koon. He's going to be 8 points, 3 force points as a primary, and we got to look at his stat card and his stances. Now, one thing about him, without reading every single ability, because we'll do this when the unboxing happens and all of that, but a big thing about him is he's very defensive. He's not super offensive. He's certainly got offensive capability, but his bigger thing is defense and the ability to let other people use his defensive expertise, which is a very cool ability. So I think he's going to work well with trying to protect others. That fits into his motif. Let's move on a little bit more. This is a pack we actually got a lot of spoilers from. Now, during the roadmap, they only spoiled Leia Boushh, all right? And now this is going to be your Return of the Jedi themed pack of Luke Skywalker. You're going to have multiple sculpt options for the different heads. R2 doesn't have to be serving drinks. You can have him normal. You can have Lando without the hat. You can have Leia without the hat. You can have Leia with a regular hand or holding a thermal detonator. And they have different torso options for Luke, because Luke actually has a different torso when he's at Jabba's palace than he does when he's fighting Vader. So you can go with either version of Luke from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. So that is actually pretty cool. This pack is going to be called the Fearless and Inventive Squad Pack. So they did spoil Leia Boushh during the presentation for the roadmap, but later on in Ministravaganza, just about everything in here has been spoiled. So we're going to look through a lot of that. So she is going to be a 4-point secondary with 9 health and 2 stamina, and she's got they got the spy keyword. They talked a lot about the spy keywords and how that would work in future stuff. They didn't go into a whole lot of detail with other spies, but as has been guessed by some of you fans in chat or the viewers who were in the live stream, a lot of people seem to be guessing that maybe that hints its way towards a Rogue One pack, since that would also possibly have some pretty cool spies, or ISB agents as well, which also would work out really well if you're looking for spy keywords to work together. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but you can certainly pause the video and check that out if you want. I'm actually going to make these the slideshow here a little bit larger so you can read all of this detail if you want to. There we go. We're going to go right there with it. All right. So let's go ahead and I really like the 50,000 no less ability too, where it's just like I'm going to gain I'm going to gain a momentum, but I'm actually going to gain a second momentum unless you want to pay a force. It's pretty cool. All right. We also have Lando and R2. Now, I thought initially that Lando and R2 were going to be separate characters, so you'd have some choice, but apparently they are one supporting unit, which seems like a little bit of a reach for me, but I'll take it. It's still cool. I like the fact that we have Lando and R2, and I think that this, we know that there's going to be another version of R2 with the Ewoks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I like the fact that this leaves a lot of room for a standalone Lando. Now, there's a 3-point support, which is pretty cool, that you're getting 2 named characters for only 3 points, which is very cool. They happen to have 1 card for the both of them as they're working together, which is also just kind of cool. So yeah, that is 2 miniatures. They are 1 supporting unit. You have Mingle, Element of Surprise, Forward Planning, and Clever Disguise. They are also spies. So that's how that is going to work. Now, we don't have their stance cards spoiled yet. We have Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, who is going to be a 7-point primary with 3 force points. And he has Return of the Jedi. He's also got, like, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. Gains immunity to some things. I will not fight you. Deflect, of course, and you can either profit by this or be destroyed. He's 11 health and 3 stamina. Now, one thing we do have for Luke that we don't have for the others is we actually got his stance cards. He is actually going to be running Form 5 Gem So and Form 3 Soresu. And for those of you who are wondering, is like, well, where did Luke learn all these forms? You know, he had all those books. And I mean, look, Ahsoka's learned a lot of forms over the years. It's not too far, of a stretch to think that Luke couldn't have picked up a couple. And also, Jedi Luke's he's talking to Ahsoka a little bit. Like they've, I'm sure there's some training. But yeah, he looks like he has a lot of damage potential on Gem So. 8 dice there, which is pretty cool. He's got some healing and support potential, but I mean, he's doing some damage either way. So Luke looks pretty cool. We also have the Fear and Dead Men expansion to talk about. This is one that we also knew was coming. We got to see a lot more of this, a lot of painting with this. They talked about how the Stormtroopers were maybe one of the more important pieces to this. Obviously, Darth Vader's in here, and he's super important. But since you didn't have those, those core units, they're not core like in Legion, but that core Imperial presence for those who want to make Imperial builds, you had to have the Stormtroopers, and they were able to kind of do that. We got to look at the Stormtrooper Sergeant. He is going to be a 3-point secondary, which is a really good thing, especially for you Inquisitor builds that are trying to build an Inquisitorious kind of thing going on. He is now note the era. You can't use the Stormtroopers in with the Clone Wars era and things like that. So that is interesting. But it's interesting that it's the Rebellion era only. So they're really we're gonna have to break down and look at eras a little bit more and be like, why is it that Stormtroopers can't work here? But and I feel like there's certain eras that are gonna be very, very, very micro, and then certain eras that are gonna be more broad. And I think this is an era that's gonna have a lot of stuff in it eventually, and we're seeing the start of it here. So this is very cool. And they did want to make these guys a little bit more precise. These are meant to be kind of like, good Stormtroopers as opposed to the Stormtroopers that miss a lot of things. And, they also talk about, look, we see Stormtroopers miss a lot, but it's usually because we see them shooting like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Leia. And, but the regular Rebel troopers, don't have that same plot armor. So Stormtroopers are actually pretty precise. So, it was like, I like the way they describe it. And then later on, we also got a preview of the new Darth Vader, comparing him to the Inquisitor Darth Vader. This is a Darth Vader that has 1 less force point, and he also has the staple that he can't be included with a strike team with Anakin Skywalker. He's Darth Vader, the Emperor's servant, 12 and 3. He's got a lot of angry abilities for sure, and then hurting people that miss him. He does like 3 damage back if you swing and you have a miss on him. So he's definitely hurting you. But he's got this awesome ability called You Cannot Hide Forever. And basically, as long as if he doesn't wound somebody, he shuffles back into your deck. And so he's just going to keep activating over and over again until he finally wounds somebody, and then his card will go away. So he's pretty nasty. He's just like, no, I am going to come. You can't. It really has that monster movie feel of like, you can't run away. He's coming for you, and he's going to get you, and he's going to keep activating over and over and over again. And this does mean that, like, if he's the last card in your deck, and then he goes and doesn't activate, and he goes back in, you're going to draw him again, and you will just keep if you really fail with him, you'll just keep activating him over and over again until he, finally wounds somebody. And so very cool. Now I don't see his stance card, but it's pretty cool. They talked a lot about the Ewoks. There's actually 2 Ewok packs coming. I didn't know there were going to be 2 Ewok packs. This is something I'm a little bit less excited about, but some people might be very excited about. So we're going to talk about those. This first one is called the Ichiwama squad pack, and this one it's got Leia, Freedom Fighter Leia. It's got Chief Chirpa, Paplu, and Ewok Hunters. And we also have I don't think we got any previews from that specific one, but we also have the Yub-Nub pack, and this one is going to have Logray, and it's going to have R2-D2 and C-3PO, as you can see right here, and it's going to have Wicket as a secondary and the Ewok Trappers as a support. So you're going to be able to choose kind of which secondary you want in this one. Now, the interesting thing here is that while we can see Logray, and apparently these guys have a lot of movement abilities, the Ewoks are very, very fast. They talked a lot about the strategy of Ewoks. While we didn't get to see all of the Ewok cards, we did learn that they have a lot of movement, a lot of speed, and a lot of ability to take that first, to win that first struggle very quickly. And if they're able to do that, it becomes hard to, win the game if you're the player who didn't win the first struggle. So I'm worried that Ewoks are going to be maybe a little too strong, but we'll have to wait and see. But later on, we also got to look at the R2-D2 and C-3PO cards, and they look okay. 4 points, not a whole lot of damage. But what's interesting, I think the more interesting thing is like they can give some extra movement and some healing and stuff to Ewoks, and then they have some things that work on Ewoks or Rebel Alliance. And so, at first, I think I was afraid that you were going to be forced. Well, here, let me move them over a little bit more because this was one that's the graphics a little too big. There we go. So there we are. All right, so I'm gonna move my head. It's tough because some of the images on here. There we go. All right, so that's a little bit better. Now we can see everything. I got to resize all of this because the graphics are all over the place. But some things were spoiled very cleanly, and some things were spoiled all over the place. And I probably could have chopped this graphic up and made it into 2, but I didn't do that. But not a whole lot of damage. What I think is most interesting about this unit is this is a secondary with a double-sided stance card. And they were very quick to say when they were talking about Shatterpoint that primaries would have stances, would have the double-sided stances, and everybody else would have the regular. But they said mostly that'll be the case. Here makes for an excellent reason that, like, one is basically R2 and one is basically C-3PO. And R2 is the one that's actually able to do a little damage because he's got that little shocker, and C-3PO is really doing status effects. He'd have to get all 5 hits to go through to actually do any damage. So it's like he'd have to have a natural 20, if you don't mind the D&D reference, to actually do any damage. So he's really not there to do damage. He is there to, to heal, to encourage others to get rid of status effects and maybe even do a little disruption. Whereas R2 is the one that, is also trying to do some disruption, but is more likely to get a few damage through. It's kind of interesting, though, but they seem like, even though they're a secondary, they feel like more the role of what support in a broader sense means, not necessarily supports in this game, because supports in this game a lot of times are like fire support, whereas I think of a support as somebody who's maybe not contributing damage directly, but helping the team and lifting the team up and giving them abilities and things like that, which is kind of how it seems like these two will function. We also have Hondo coming. Now, there's a whole lot with the Hondo artwork, and they were very excited about this. The most important reference to Hondo is that he happens to be featured on the first mission pack that is coming. Now, we do know that there's going to be 2 mission packs coming. This one's coming in November, and so it's just around the corner. And this one is going to feature less points. It's going to feature 2 less points. So we normally have 9. This one only has 7. You still got the 3 in the middle, and then 2 slightly above and 2 slightly below. So like the top and bottom kind of creep in. They're a little bit closer to each other, and it's going to force some interesting engagements. Also, it's going to have some special effects on some of these cards that when you play the Shatterpoint cards, something different will happen. So it's going to make your game just a little bit different, just a little bit more exciting. And the good news is it's also not the last mission pack to come, because initially when kind of testing the game, they were talking about how this is the second of 3 mission packs that they were kind of testing with. So there will be another one announced probably at Adepticon. It kind of sounds like it, because they definitely confirmed that there's a third one, but they didn't really give any details about it. But also talking about Hondo, we have the Hondo pack, and it's called the That's Just Good Business squad pack, featuring Hondo Anaka and his pirates. And they did some painting streams of that as well. We have a Mandalorian pack. Of course, we did know that Mando was coming, but we got a little bit more on the pack. Now, this one's only coming with the 3. Which is interesting. Left a lot of people speculating on where's Cara Dune. There was a lot of discussion about that. No information about that was given, so it appears that at this time it is just IG-11, Greef, Karga, and the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin. And of course, Grogu is there on the base with him. And this is called the Certified Guild Standards Squad Pack. Funny that it's not called the This Is the Way pack, but I could see them doing another Mando at some point with more Mandalorians. Like the armorer and stuff like that. I could see stuff like that happening, maybe where he has the dark saber or he's got his jetpack, and, you can do multiple Mandos. I think they're going to definitely want to do another Mando, because some people have talked about, like, the art style on these looks a little bit off compared to some of the other ones, because I believe this was actually one of the first packs they ever worked on when they were trying to come up with Shatterpoint. They talked about Mando kind of being their proof of concept, and how the art style has evolved. And I think they said during one of the streams that it wasn't until they had done Anakin Skywalker after this that they really sort of like settled on an art style. And so I have a feeling this won't be the last Mando we see. It's just the first Mando we see, at least in Star Wars Shatterpoint. In the Mando universe, we also got Moff Gideon here, it's called the You Have Something I Want pack, which features Moff Gideon. We've got a Death Trooper and 2 Dark Troopers. Really cool, really, really cool. They didn't go into a whole lot more about this, but we can see that Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, and it looks like the Death Trooper will be the secondary, and the Dark Troopers will be the support. And if that's the case, I wonder how the points are going to go, because Dark Troopers are a fearsome force that are, have power to rival Din Djarin himself. So are they going to be a 5-point support? I don't know. I have a lot of guesses and speculations, but I don't want to fill this up with guesses and speculations. That's all we know right now, folks. And these minis look really good, and that Death Trooper is really big. It's a very, very tall Death Trooper, which is certainly something. We also talk about Inferno Squad. We have the Iden Versio pack. This is called the Today the Rebellion Dies Squad pack. It's going to feature Iden Versio, Gideon Hask, Del Mico, and then 2 Imperial Special Forces troopers, kind of 2 generics. Now, in my headcanon, one of those is Sain Marana. So she was that 4th member of Inferno Squad who's just less popular than the other 3. So that is also going to be coming. Now, moving forward we knew Han Solo was coming. We didn't know what was all going to be in his pack, although I certainly guessed Chewbacca would at least be one of them, and certainly that is confirmed here. So we get a look at the Real Quiet-like squad pack, featuring Han Solo, Chewbacca, and some rebel. They look like rebel commandos. Basic kind of rebel troops, right? But kind of from Endor, kind of from that strike team, but not necessarily trying to be a Han Solo that's restricted to his Endor persona. It's more of trying to be like a generalized Han Solo in recognizable garb. And so he's got the vest there, but he doesn't have that trench coat on. The Chewbacca looks. I really like the Chewbacca, but I've seen a lot of mixed emotions. Some people aren't crazy about the way Chewbacca looks. Some think he looks a little too cartoony. I think he looks fantastic. It looks like he's holding like an IG-11 or IG droid arm, like that he's ripped off, and so I just think it's pretty cool. And he looks like he's going on a Wookiee rampage right there. It looks really cool. So I'm looking forward to this pack, definitely. Now, we also have the Garage, which is a new terrain kit, which is coming. This one looks like it's going to be very compatible with existing terrain kits, and is also coming with a Womp Rat. Now, they did say they want to have every every one of the terrain kits to come with some kind of extra like little scatter terrain and things like that, and they kind of want to throw some kind of creature in all of them. And if you hear people talking about hashtag Shatterpoint, they for whatever reason, the folks get a little silly and start making jokes, and the chat gets into it, and that was a thing. So they talked about this rat for a long time during the preview, longer than perhaps was necessary, but you can be the judge of that. And at the end of the day, it became like a sort of a little joke about the rat and how he's Shatterpoint. And some folks like him, some folks don't, because he does look a little creepy and like maybe diseased or something like that. So that is pretty interesting. Now, let's also talk about the Bad Batch. This one is all new. This one wasn't spoiled already, but certainly I guess we could have guessed that this would eventually show up in Shatterpoint, since it had already been confirmed for Star Wars Legion. The Bad Batch is coming to Star Wars Shatterpoint, and it looks like we're getting the entire team, including Omega. So very, very cool. I think this is a great game for them. We got no information on when that is coming or any of the details, whether it will be 1 pack of 6 characters or if it will be 2 packs of 3. We do know that there's some characters or some expansions that are going to come with only 3 characters, like the Mandalorian's pack. We also know there's some packs that come with 5 characters at least, kind of like that Plo Koon pack. So I feel like it could go either way, but it makes a lot more sense to me if they jumble it all into one big pack, and because they all go together. They are all the Bad Batch. You can't split up the Bad Batch. They're a family, right? So I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and see to get more information for that. And then there are some other distant future things. We already knew that the Ghost Crew was coming, and they talked about them a little bit more. They have these wanted posters, which look like they're the activation cards for the Ghost Crew. So instead of the way activation cards are currently done, they took some liberties on these and turned them into wanted posters, which looks really, really cool. I love the way that they've done this. So very cool, very fun, very exciting. And since people want them, who's trying to put out wanted posters for the Ghost Crew? Well, they also teased the one, the only Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to be coming. Now this is far future stuff, so this will not be before the end of the year. This is probably stuff that is going to be middle of next year, possibly later than that. It's certainly unknown exactly, but they did call this stuff far future. They weren't really trying to talk too much about really, really far off things, but this one sounds like this is the farthest off. I expect we will probably see some teasers at Adepticon when they do the major announcements. There weren't that many announcements that were brand new to us. The Bad Batch was certainly one of them, and some of the details on other ones were certainly some brand new details. A lot of spoilers that were brand new, and then the squad packs was also very cool, and the terrain was also new. But there wasn't like this overwhelming drop of all this new content. They did talk at the opening ceremonies that basically at Adepticon is really the hallmark event for the year, where they give you a whole year out. Like the really long roadmap. And Ministravaganza is meant to be just the short-term roadmap, like the next 4 months or something like that, next 4 or 5 months. They didn't want to really go past next spring. So that's kind of basically the stuff we're looking at now is most of the stuff that was going to get us until like next March, thereabouts, with things like the Ghost Crew and Grand Admiral Thrawn probably coming out after that. But I'm very, very excited about the Ghost Crew, and especially Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is probably my all-time favorite Star Wars character. So that's everything from Star Wars Shatterpoint at Ministravaganza. How did I do, folks? Did I wrap it up as concisely as you would have liked? Was a 23, 24-minute video better than watching 40 hours of streaming content to get all the details? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. And we'll be also doing Star Wars Legion, a wrap-up for that as well. And of course, we'll be coming to you with more and more content. Plus, we're going to be looking at some cool terrain Kickstarters and a lightsaber review for later this week, too. So all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you stick around, click that subscribe button. And big thanks to my patrons. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel and you want to get your name in the credits, there's tiers on Patreon for that. These guys definitely are superstars and help make this channel possible. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper and be excellent to each other.